Patrick, thank you so much for this interview.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. It's really lovely to meet your viewers and listeners and yourself, of course.
Thank you. Me too. So, first of all, tell me a little bit about the mood right now in the UK these days in light of the war in the Middle East. What are you hearing on the street? Are people in favor or against a war in Iran?
Well, anyone who's got a brain in their head and actually backs British interests is really happy that the Ayatollah's been killed and feels as though both Israel and the United States of America have done the world a massive favour yet again. However, unfortunately, we do have huge levels of immigration from countries that are very pro-Ayatollah, and we're seeing that play out on the streets now. And the mood, therefore, is a little bit mixed. We've got people holding vigils tonight for the great martyr of the Ayatollah. We've got the Islamic Centre of England is just round the corner from where I'm talking to you now. The head of that mosque is appointed directly by the Ayatollah. So you can imagine the mood over there at the moment is quite somber. It's basically the IRGC's base in Britain, unofficial base. They even have a school there where they lined up children in the playground and got
No
them to
way.
chant things like death to Jews, right? This is what was going on just around the corner in central London. So that the mood there is mixed. But like I said, anyone who's really got a solid idea of who our allies are, what our priorities are as a country. I mean, the Iranian regime under the Ayatollah was responsible for 20 late stage terror attacks that were foiled by our intelligence services. So really, we know that the Ayatollah has wished death upon us all. Why aren't we celebrating in the streets that he's finally been killed?
It's absolutely insane. The government is trying to do something to stop it.
Yeah, it's just insane. I mean, I can't really express to you how much of a threat we face in this country from radical Islamist terrorism. I mean, look, no one knows this more than the Israelis, right? I mean, you guys live under that threat 24/7. Don't get me wrong, but people here in Britain are still not waking up to it. We refuse to prescribe the IRGC as a banned terrorist organization. Earlier today, just a couple of hours ago, we came into possession of leaked WhatsApp messages from the IRGC saying that they were going to launch strikes in Britain as retaliation for us, by the way, not even doing a lot. I mean, that's the criticism of Keir Starmer and our
Patrick,
Prime
you're
Minister.
losing your country.
Yeah, I know. I know.
How?
I know, this is it. And he still won't prescribe them as a terrorist organization because he's too scared. And he's too scared of what is an ever-growing Muslim vote. Now, not all Muslims think the same, fair enough. But unfortunately, there is a lot of radicalization here in Britain. A lot of people, Keir Starmer is at the moment hemorrhaging votes to the right of British politics, to Nigel Farage and to Reform, but also to the left, to the Green Party, which has really been captured by a load of people who shout Allahu Akbar when they win a council election. These are people who attended. They said it was anti-war demonstrations, but after the Ayatollah got killed, there was what I would regard as a pro-Ayatollah demonstration, which members of the Green Party attended. And Keir Starmer knows now, our Prime Minister knows now, that if he does anything to offend really that Muslim vote in this country, then they won't vote for him. And it means he's incredibly vulnerable. He can't lead our country. The reason why he's doing nothing now in the face of the biggest global crisis in modern times is because he doesn't want to offend the Muslim community in Britain.
It's absolutely insane. What do you think about the Prime Minister's Starmer's position on the war when he said he doesn't intend to take part, especially after a British base in Cyprus was attacked?
Yeah, look, this is absolutely outrageous, okay? Do you ever think you would see the day that a leader of our great country, and I think Great Britain is a great country with a great history and a proud history, where we could have sovereign British military bases attacked by radical Islamists and our Prime Minister would do nothing about it? What kind of man is this? If he goes out for dinner and he's there with his wife and someone pours a cup of water over his wife's head, does he sit back and say, oh, we're not going to do anything about this? What kind of weak man is that really that we are currently being led by? I mean, for a while, he was happy for the French government to be the ones protecting our military bases in Cyprus. The world is watching now. because this is a global event, this is absolutely a global event. It's spilled over into the Gulf states. It's spilled over into Cyprus, as you mentioned there. Obviously, the European nations are getting involved. Israel, America are involved. So the world is now watching how every single one of these countries responds. So what's the message been about how Israel will respond? Quick, great intelligence, no mercy, bosh, you're done. What's the message about the Americans? The same thing, of course. France has stepped up a little bit now. You're seeing some of the Gulf states stepping up. What message is it sending about Britain? That we are under-resourced, we can't pick a side, we don't want to get involved, and we're willing to alienate some of our key strategic allies. Great Britain owes the US and Israel a massive debt of gratitude, not just for the final act of killing the Ayatollah, but for everything that they have done, especially Israel, everything they have been done to try to keep Islamism at bay for decades. And the idea that we can't come out and support this. Keir Starmer is sitting on the fence. He's sitting on the fence.
Even President Trump said earlier that he's really disappointed from him, and it's not Winston Churchill anymore.
Yeah, it's such a shame. And it begs the question, what would have to happen for him to actually take a position? We don't want a lawyer, we want a leader. As a country, we need to be led. You need to know that in times of serious crisis, we could actually have someone that we can unite behind. And Keir Starmer, the only thing he is desperate to say is Britain played no role in the killing of the Ayatollah. Well, I think most normal people would be queuing up to try to take credit for killing the Ayatollah.
Exactly.
And our Prime Minister is there wanting to tell everybody that he had nothing to do with it. He doesn't want to do with it.
He doesn't want to take side in this amazing history that we're having right now.
Doesn't want to let the US use some of our air bases as well, which is a big problem for us. And just think about
how do you view the legality and the morality of such a move? That the US letting you...
There's no legality or morality with the Ayatollah. There's no legality or morality with the Iranian regime. There's no legality or morality with Hamas, with Hezbollah, with the Houthis, with all of these people, with ISIS, with Al-Qaeda. These are people who are just the worst of the worst. So when it comes to what's the international law around whether the United States, or anyone for that matter, who is an ally, could use our bases to do a special military operation to get rid of some of the world's worst people, I don't think international law matters. Did the Ayatollah care about international law when he was killing tens of thousands of his own civilians? Does he care about international law when he's firing intercontinental ballistic missiles into Israeli airspace? Does he care about it when women are being raped and slaughtered for not wearing the hijab? No, of course not. Doesn't care about that. So why do we care about it? It's suicidal empathy that we have at the moment. And it's systematic, really, of the demise of Western and European culture that we're seeing at the moment, where we obviously have had huge levels of mass immigration from countries and cultures that are not particularly aligned to our own, sadly. And then we've been very accommodating to those people, and we are now witnessing them really changing the way that the British politics works. And just think about this. Our Prime Minister was willing to undermine the very special relationship that Great Britain has with the United States of America and with the Israelis, just to try to appease the growing Muslim population in Britain. And that is really astonishing. It's a really, really astonishing thing to show who has the power in this country now.
Right. It's insane. Patrick, in your opinion, how much political pressure is there within UK to support the American side compared to the desire to maintain full political independence?
What you're dealing with is a lot of people who've got Trump derangement syndrome. So there are people that will never, ever, ever want us to support Donald Trump, even if Donald Trump wanted to save every single puppy and kitten in the world from a house fire. There will be people in this country that would still say that he was an evil guy and never wanted to.
Why?
And would never want to, because they're idiots. However, if you look at people on the right, the Conservative Party in this country and Reform, they have been pretty full square behind what Trump has done. And actually, they're in line with the Australians and the Canadians, both of whom have got a centre-left / left-wing government. So other left-wing countries are able to look for this for what it is, come out and say we supported what the Americans and the Israelis have done. But not ours. So it's a very tricky situation at the moment with people saying that they want to kind of divest themselves from America and Israel. But this again is symptomatic of where we are. Unfortunately, there is a collection of people in this country, a large collection of people who, no matter what Israel or the Americans did, would never, ever, ever support them. Now, they are a minority, but unfortunately, they're a very vocal minority, and at the moment, they're in power. So we have to. That's where we are really. But I do hope that the Israelis and the Americans do understand that actually the overwhelming majority of people in Britain are on your side about all of this. I know that it might not seem like that, and I know that you might be very disappointed. But look, trust me, we're very disappointed as well with the way things are going here at the moment. So, hopefully there is hope for a brighter, more solid future there, I think, between our great nations.
Thank you, first of all. Do you think the UK will ultimately be drawn into the conflict, whether it wanted or not?
Well, I suppose it depends what happens next, doesn't it? I mean, if Iran, through some of their proxies, say Hezbollah or whatever, decides to continue attacking sovereign British military bases or British citizens, then at some point we are going to have to take a stand. And the time might be sooner rather than later. If my understanding is that some of these Gulf states are running low on supplies of interceptor missiles to be able to deal with the Iranian drones, etc., then the time to go all out on Iran would be sooner rather than later, because then some of the other states would still have the capacity to defend themselves. I find it absolutely inconceivable that if there was ever a British loss of life or there was another attack on a British base here, that we would not find ourselves, just morally speaking, drawn into it. And I think we would have to. But the big threat for us here in Britain would be retaliation here, because we have had reports from MI5, from our intelligence services, about Iranian terrorist sleeper cells here in Britain. You will be aware, of course, of the crisis that we've got in the English Channel at the moment with the migrant crisis. Unvetted people coming in. Some of them have had links to Houthis. Some of them have had links to Hamas. Some of them have took these. There's Hezbollah. Exactly. There is unfortunately a steady supply of people in this country who our own security and intelligence services are warning are ready to start acting as sleeper cells if we decide to kick off with Iran. But that's a consequence of political.
It's against everyone, not only the Jews. It's against all the British people.
Everyone. I mean, we had very recently, and this attack was foiled right at the last minute, but we had people who'd pledged allegiance to Islamic State. They were Tunisian. They're from Tunisia. We'd let them into the country. They'd lived here for years, whatever. And they were plotting the largest single terrorist attack that this country has ever seen. And it was against the Jewish community in Manchester. Wow. And what they also said was, if we kill a few Christians, well, then that's just a bonus. So these people just hate anyone who isn't their particular brand of Muslim, which is very radical, of course. And we are foiling these attacks. The reason why this wasn't front page news, and maybe I don't know whether or not you guys have heard about it, is because we got very lucky and it didn't happen. But you're just one missed opportunity away from something like that happening. We are walking a constant tightrope in this country. Fundamentally, that is because our politicians have treated Great Britain like a plot of land where anyone in the world can come and live. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what your views are. It doesn't matter if you like us or our culture or our way of life. It doesn't matter if you think that Israel shouldn't be allowed to exist. All of this stuff. Our politicians for decades have not cared about any of that. And now they're forcing us to live in this situation, which makes us very vulnerable. When an event kicks off in Iran like this, and we might want to get involved for our own national interest, then it puts us in a difficult situation because we risk being attacked here in Britain because of the people that we've let in.
It's, wow, insane. How do you think the current situation will affect Britain's foreign relations, particularly with the EU and the United States?
I'm less bothered about how it works with the European Union. I mean, the European Union is an incredibly slow-moving beast, which I don't personally think is particularly fit for purpose. We saw that when Israel and the US acted on the Ayatollah on Saturday morning, our time anyway, Saturday morning, that the European Union said that they were going to have a meeting about it on Monday. The biggest event in modern world history, one of the most important things. It has the potential to, if things don't quite go right, lead to World War III. The European Union, we'll save it till Monday. It can wait. So I've not got a huge amount of time for them. Also, when we look at what's happened in Ukraine, when it first kicked off there with Putin's invasion of Ukraine, the British, we actually sent hardware. We actually sent military supplies. The Germans, for example, sent a few helmets and things like that. So I'm less bothered about what they think. I'm very concerned about what it means for our relationship with the United States. I am very concerned about that. Once the Trump administration decides that they don't like you, as we've seen,
Like in Spain today.
yeah, yeah.
Do you think the UK is next?
It's very difficult to see where we go from here. I mean, the one saving grace is that President Trump has got both family and business links directly in the UK, in Scotland specifically. And he does love it here. I mean, this is the stupidity of it all. We do have a president there in the United States of America who actually really loves Great Britain. And the problem is that we have a prime minister of Great Britain that I don't think likes Great Britain very much, and certainly doesn't like President Trump. And it's creating this perfect storm, and it's such a wasted opportunity. But we have to have a look at where this legal advice is coming from, that the US shouldn't be using some of our bases. We have a bloke who's the Attorney General in this country, so it's basically the head of the law, really, for the government. He's the government's top legal advisor. Now, he has been great personal friends with our Prime Minister for years, so going back when they were both in the legal profession together at the same time. This guy has previously represented the head of Al-Qaeda. He's previously represented a bloke who was wanted for masterminding the 9/11 terrorist attacks. He's previously represented between them, several banned Islamist terrorist organizations, the IRA in Ireland. These are the kind of people that when they were operating as lawyers, they were representing. And now we have one of them as Prime Minister and one of them as our Attorney General. And the way I look at international law is that you can basically interpret it any way you want. Right. And they are choosing to interpret it in a way that would not allow the United States access to our military bases to go and launch offensive strikes. And, there's opposing legal advice that's coming from the Conservatives, which say that that's a load of rubbish. Of course they can. Of course they can. So it's a choice here. And I am very worried about what this means. About our special relationship with the United States, about also about Israel as well, really. I mean, I just
How do you think the relationship with Israel will look like?
Well, I mean, look, you've got the problem that our Prime Minister inexplicably decided to recognise the state of Palestine. Whilst
next is Narnia. I've heard he's going to.
Yeah. And just as this deal was supposedly being done between Israel and Hamas, our Prime Minister decides to come out and recognise the state of Palestine and say that Hamas can stay in charge of Gaza, and it doesn't matter if they've got a few weapons and all of this stuff. So that's insane. You can't get around the facts, as far as I'm concerned, that there is a deep-seated undercurrent of anti-Semitism that runs right through the left wing in British politics, whether it's with the Green Party, whether it's with the Labour Party, etc. I mean, what we are seeing now is people going door to door in some British cities and knocking on people's doors and getting them to see if they will sign a petition to say that they won't buy any Israeli products, right?
No
so these are just people. So you get a knock on the door. But of course, what does that mean? Let's say they knocked on someone who happens to be Jewish door, and they said, well, actually, I'm pro-Israel. And they know where you live then, don't they? And they know what your address is. They know the way you think. They know what you look like. And do we honestly trust that they're just going to disregard that, are they? Or are they making a little list of people that they don't like? A little bit like we've seen in some of the darkest moments in history, of course. And now this appears to be happening here. So there is this huge undercurrent of anti-Semitism in this country. And I am very, very worried that this government is not able or willing to say that they are standing shoulder to shoulder with Israel. And I'm concerned about that because of, as far as I'm concerned, the Israelis are well, not just our natural allies, of course, but they're also the only democracy in that part of the world. I mean, good grief, we've gone to war several times to try and bring democracy to some of these places, allegedly, and that's been unsuccessful. Well, you've got a democracy there in the shape of Israel, and I think we should be celebrating that. But also, it's the level of intelligence that you guys offer, and that unbelievable level of intelligence that you have. We
Thanks.
need that, but we need it. We need it, right? I mean, just what you guys did with the old pages and the things that was just
It's the
oh,
Jewish brain.
yeah. It was great, but so we need it. And
And I
I'm
hope to
worried
see
if,
much more surprises like this in Iran.
yeah, wow, I can't wait to see what you guys have got up your sleeve, to be honest with you,
You
because
have
it
to
just seems
join.
to
You
keep
have
getting
to join.
better.
Now, I want to thank you like a few days ago to when we heard that Khamenei is dead. How did
Hmm.
the people in the UK react?
Yes, well, most people that I spoke to anyway were very, very happy. So I was live on air. So I was doing I got the phone call. It was obviously big breaking news, and they know I only live around the corner from the office, so they can call me anytime and I have to come in. So I came in, and I was on air 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. UK time, and then I think it was about 5 p.m. where we started to get the confirmation really. I think Benjamin Netanyahu and I think President Trump basically said they've been shown evidence of the Ayatollah's body, that he was being pulled out the rubble, that he was dead. It was game over. Bye bye Ayatollah. And it felt honestly for me like one of, if not the most significant moment of my kind of broadcasting career. I mean,
Wow.
this guy was living in a reign of terror for decades. Um, there's actually a big Iranian community near where I live that obviously fled Iran when the mullahs came in. Um, Unfortunately, what we've also done is then move a load of very pro-Iranian Revolutionary Guard people in just around the corner from them as well. So I get stopped in the street sometimes by the Iranians who fled. So they left their country to get away from these people, and then we decided to let them all in. What are we doing? But they were very look. It very much felt like the end of an era in a good way. And one of those moments that, as a broadcaster, and I'm sure you will have this as well. Those are the moments that you really live for, where you feel actually like, gosh, this is really big. I'm able to say the words live on air. I've got breaking news for you now. The Ayatollah is dead. And you kind of think, look, whatever happens next, it's very difficult to imagine a situation that's worse than having the Ayatollah in power, really. So, yeah, I mean, the reaction was broadly speaking quite good. The only negative, well, the negatives are, like I said, we've got a big influence of things like the Muslim Brotherhood here at university campuses. We've got a lot of extremism on university campuses. So you have these vigils that are being done for the Ayatollah. But what's really good about this now is that these people are just exposing themselves. So there can be no doubt anymore. Before it was like, oh, are you pro-Islamist terrorism or not? Now we know they are because they're just telling us. If you're mourning the loss of the Ayatollah, then I think there's a rule you're a pretty bad person.
Exactly. Now, on another subject, what do you think about the fact that Prince Harry and Meghan traveled to Jordan to visit Palestinians refugees?
Well, they're useful idiots to anyone who is, either willing to pay them or maybe show them some love at the moment. They are thick as two short planks, as we would say here. I mean, and they have been used by several pretty shoddy regimes recently. I mean, the Nigerians, the Colombians, and now there wasn't actually the Jordanian regime, I think, was it? It was organized by the World Health Organization, and then they went over to Jordan to meet some of the Palestinian and Gazan refugees. And Prince Harry was writing them notes like, "Now it's time to tell your story," and all of this. Look, I'm not particularly happy about it. I think it undermines the credibility of the royal family, especially at a time when our royal family is, let's be honest with you, under the cosh a little bit at the moment, because thanks to a certain former Prince Andrew and his indiscretions. But I think that Meghan Markle, especially in my view, wants to be like Princess Diana
Yeah,
reincarnate, where she thinks that she's doing these things like walking across landmines in Angola or going and
they should
feeding
come to
homeless.
Israel,
Yeah, yeah. But you
visit
see, there
our
was
soldiers.
yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, Prince Harry is the soldier. One of the things that is very good about Prince Harry is the fact that he's a military veteran, and he did a
Exactly.
couple of tours of Afghanistan. He really should know a bit better when it comes to some of these global affairs. I think, but it's one of the things that really winds me up about these people, which is that it's just meaningless, vacuous guff, where they think, oh, we'll just go and we'll shake hands with some Palestinian refugees, and then we'll that'll make us look like the good guys. Whereas they don't think about, why don't they go and visit some of the kibbutzes that were raided by
Exactly.
Hamas? Why don't they go and spend a night in some of the Israeli bomb shelters where you guys have to stay when, Iran or whatever else, all of your neighbors are trying to wipe you off the face of the earth at any moment in time? Like, maybe they could go around and do something like that as opposed to doing PR, really, because with the World Health Organization as well and the United Nations, they have been incredibly dodgy over the whole Palestine stuff. I mean, there's been times when I've thought that they actually support Hamas. To be honest with you, the way that
Wow.
some of the comments that I've seen made. And I just think for Harry and Meghan to be used by those people to go and kind of
Maybe they're
do
getting paid by Qatar or something
yeah,
like that.
well,
Who
possibly.
knows?
Possibly, but the only benefit I would say about this is that whenever they do something now, who actually cares, right? I mean, like, it's obviously annoying for you guys because you would have rather they'd come to Israel. But I mean, everyone thinks they're idiots. No, they've got no respect in this country at all. They've completely damaged their reputation by crying into
They're
Oprah
not even
Winfrey.
royals anymore.
They're not even royals anymore. And apparently they're quite irrelevant on the old Hollywood circuit. I don't even think those insufferable A-list movie stars want to be seen anywhere near Harry and Meghan. So you never know. It's maybe they can do what they want. It's just no one pays much attention other than the initial headline that they're there.
Yes. Last question. What message would you like to send to the Israeli people?
Well, I would just like to say thank you very, very much for everything that you've done to help keep Britain and the West safe. I think that the courage that you have shown to go after some of the world's worst people, and by that, of course, I mean the Ayatollah, I mean people like Yahya Sinwar, I mean all of those people who don't just wish death to the Jews and to Israel, but frankly wish death to the West as well, and are behind a lot of negatives that we see right here where I am in Britain now. I would also just say that there has been a monumental uptick in anti-Semitism in this country. And it's been very revealing what's happened, especially in the last couple of years. And I am very, very sorry about that. I know a lot of my Jewish friends here and a lot of the Jewish community around where I live just straightforwardly do not feel safe in Britain anymore. And I do hope that you realise that for the vast majority of ordinary, non-Jewish British citizens, it is to our eternal shame that that has been allowed to happen in this country, and that people of the Jewish community might feel safer leaving our great country. I would beg you, please don't go. We need you. We love you, and we value the contribution that you've given to our society, and will continue to give to our society. I was in a synagogue for one of my friend's bat mitzvahs, my friend's daughter's bat mitzvahs, I
Wow.
should put. And in the synagogue was the Israeli flag and the British flag. And just at some point during the service, which obviously I understood a little of because it's all it wasn't in English, a lot of it, but there was a pause where they thanked the king and praised Great Britain. And I just thought, why on earth would we ever wanting to lose people like this from our great country? People who love to be here, people who are completely entwined in British culture, British way of life, and we have a shared history, of course. So, look, yeah, I would just say thank you for what you're doing, and please do try to stay the course and know that the overwhelming majority of the British public are very much in favour and do love and support you.
Patrick, thank you so much for this fascinating interview. I really appreciate your time.
All right, thank you very much for having me. I hope to do it again sometime.
Thank you.
All right.